tuning into Halton News right here on your TV. It's Wednesday, July 22nd, and I'm Jessica Kading. There are 4 less active cases of COVID-19 in our region than yesterday. That's 34 active cases across Halton, 10 of which are in Burlington, 7 in Oakville, 12 in Milton, and 5 in Halton Hills. In 2 days, Halton will enter into stage 3 of recovery. Halton police will continue their education rather than enforcement approach as those changes come into play. And while some residents understandably still feel nervous about entering stage 3, Constable Anderson says, like many of us, he's looking forward to it.
You know, the big thing in this house is parks will be opening, so my kids can attend the local park, which they've been looking forward to, and we've been looking forward to taking them. It's just some high-risk establishments that'll be staying closed, buffet restaurants, I think nightclubs, that sort of thing. But the important thing is people need to remind themselves to maintain social distancing and to wear masks. That's something else. That's another aspect that bylaw officers and with the help of police would be enforcing. So hopefully we don't have too many problems with that. I think people by and large are pretty compliant with the wearing of the masks, and we certainly haven't seen too many complaints about that. But if that is something that we do see complaints about, that's something bylaw or the police would investigate and determine whether that's enforcement or education that's warranted.
Halton police say the COVID-19 hotline is still operational if you have any questions or concerns. The mask bylaw comes into effect today across the region. The number, should you have any concerns, is 905-825-4722. Meanwhile, as Constable Anderson touched on, most businesses and public spaces will be allowed to open as of this Friday, but this does not include amusement parks or water parks. Buffet food service is not permitted to resume, nor is dancing allowed at bars and restaurants. Private karaoke rooms will remain closed for now, as will saunas, steam rooms, bathhouses, and oxygen bars. Table games at casinos remain closed, and kids are not permitted to attend overnight camps. For a full list of what is and is not allowed during Stage 3, please visit ontario.ca. Stage 3 will also see most of Oakville's town facilities reopen, including public playgrounds and sports fields for organized play. The town does ask for your patience, however, because there are 150 playgrounds and they each need to undergo safety inspections before reopening. The town would also like to make sure residents realize the equipment will not be sanitized, so residents should wash or sanitize their hands right after using the equipment. Minister Vic Fedeli was in Oakville today to tour Virox Technologies with MPPs Crawford and Triantafilopoulos. Virox received $850,000 from the Ontario Together Fund back in May to help produce PPE for Canadians. Nikki Wesley reports.
Back in the first part of the pandemic, when we heard some countries were going to hold back on the shipment of our vital personal protective equipment, PPE, Premier Ford said, that's it. Never again are we going to be dependent on some other country to make what we need every day. So he put together the $50 million Ontario Together Fund, as well as an Ontario Together website. We've had 27,000 companies log on to the website. 18,000 of them have asked for orders, and we've spent $700 million buying personal protective equipment from those companies. And in other cases, like Virox Technologies, we've made an investment in their infrastructure. This is the company that was the pointy edge of the spear. They were way out there. They knew what they were doing. They were leading Ontario, as they have in the past and will continue to do. This is an absolutely phenomenal place to see and to be. These are the real heroes, the real champions. They are providing products that keep our families safe, keep our frontline workers safe. This is just a perfect company, which is why they were the very first recipient of Premier Ford's Ontario Together Fund.
Virox took the $850,000 and hired 40 more staff members. CEO Randy Pilon shares the other improvements Virox made to help meet the growing demand.
We actually spent $2 million on a new assembly line, new equipment to completely outfit the production facility with a high output wet wipe line. that will double our capacity and our ability to serve the infection prevention needs of Canada.
Virox holds a globally patented cleaning technology that makes them unique in the industry.
Our technology, called accelerated hydrogen peroxide, or short form is AHP, of course, is a Ontario-born and based innovation with 16 global patents that takes infection prevention chemistries to a new level, because you don't need to be toxic to be efficacious. So our product can be used by virtually anyone, anywhere, without gloves, without goggles. So we can disinfect an operating room and the GO train, all with the same technology and with the same easy, simple protocols designed for those specific uses.
While coronavirus is not the first outbreak that Virox has been called to help with, Pilon believes it will have a lasting effect, unlike the SARS epidemic.
This is a sustained outbreak. This is something that we haven't seen before, and I don't think we're going to go to back to the levels that we were before, because what you're going to get is you're going to get people that were diligent about infection prevention being more diligent. You're going to get people that were somewhat diligent being diligent, and you're going to get people that were not necessarily diligent getting into infection prevention theater, as we call it, where people are going to want to see them disinfect that chiro chair, or that nail boutique, or that salon, or that massage table, or the dental office. They're going to want to see you do it instead of assume you did. So that's all going to drive consumption, and ultimately that's going to drive a more hygienic society for people to participate in regardless.
Reporting for Halton News, I'm Nikki Wesley.
There's another push to get the government back to Parliament. Melissa Candelaria spoke with our local Conservative MP to get more details on why he believes being in the House in person is so important.
The Conservative Party of Canada is once again urging the government to resume Parliament. As we ease into a new normal of operations, the federal government is looking into remote online voting as a way to normal operations. However, Wellington Halton Hills MP Michael Chong says that's a bad idea.
We come together as parliamentarians to vote, to debate, not in isolation, but as a group of elected officials. And I think it's really important that we keep the practice of in-person voting in place, as we've done for centuries. It's a tried and true practice. It can't be hacked. It can't be subject to fraud.
Admittedly, Chong had initially thought the idea of online voting might be the way to move forward, but Chong says there is a deliberative process that happens when you vote in person.
You see what your other colleagues are doing, you hear what they're saying, it informs how you are going to make a decision on how to vote. I drive down the 401 when I need to go to meetings or get to from A to B, and I see millions of Canadians in the GTA going to work every day. The fact is, over 10 million people in this country are working every day. On the data I've seen, 50% of them are going to workplaces to work. So there's no reason why 338 parliamentarians can't figure out how to resume Parliament with social distancing.
The Conservative members of the Standing Committee on Procedure and House Affairs released a report that outlined some recommendations on how to safely resume Parliament, which include physical distancing, of course, staying in Ottawa or near Ottawa in between sittings on weekends to limit travel in and out of the region, and COVID-19 screenings before entering the House, to name a few. For more details on the report, you can go to ourcommons.ca. Reporting for Halton News, I'm Melissa Candelaria.
Good news for local businesses. The House of Commons has passed a bill to revamp the wage subsidy program. Bill C-20 was passed yesterday and aims to offer relief to more businesses. Prior to this, the wage subsidy was heavily criticized by the official opposition. Wellington Halton Hills MP Michael Chong had said that the program and subsidy was too restrictive. We spoke with him earlier today, and he seems pleased with these new changes.
We as Conservatives have been bringing to the government's attention the problems with the previous wage subsidy program, that employers weren't all able to take advantage of it, that people were falling between the cracks. So we're glad to hear that the government has listened to the concerns that we've brought forward, and so they have introduced legislation to change the wage subsidy bill. They're doing a number of things with the changes. First, they're extending the program to the end of this calendar year. And secondly, they're changing the criteria so that a greater number of businesses and a greater number of workers are eligible for the wage subsidy program. Previously, a business had to have at least 30% drop in revenue in order to get a 75% wage subsidy. Now there will be a sliding scale of drops in revenue that will make it easier to become eligible for the wage subsidy bill. And the subsidy increases to 100% of wages covered for those businesses that have experienced more than a 50% drop in revenue. So it's a better program than what was in place before. And that's thanks in part to the concerns that we've been raising with the government over the last several months.
The bill will also have a $600 one-time payment for people with disabilities and extends legal deadlines for court cases. Although the bill has passed the House of Commons, it's now awaiting Senate consideration for approval before these changes can be implemented. The next episode of Burlington Matters will tell you all you need to know about wearing masks, including those legal requirements and the medical effectiveness. As the city moves into Phase 3, masks have now been mandated in public spaces as well as businesses within Burlington. One area that has fallen between the cracks, though, is shared spaces within private condominium and apartment buildings. Mayor Marianne Mead Ward and Councillor Shauna Stolte discuss just where this sits.
Well, that's been an interesting one because realistically, our mandatory mask bylaw does not cover people who are in their own private residences. And when it comes to condominium buildings, especially, when you buy a condo, part of your purchase price is covering shared joint ownership over those common spaces, and those are considered still part of a private residence inside that building. So it does cross both areas. It is a public space inside a private residence, so it's been a bit tricky, and our bylaw does not at this point cover that, and we were given the impression that we did not necessarily have a tool to have the authority in there. But we've certainly heard from a lot of members of the public, because there are a lot, especially of our older population, who live in condos and apartment buildings who are concerned about that shared space, shared laundry rooms, shared elevators. So we've reached out to both the legal teams, both at the City of Burlington and at the region, as well as reached out to, I think it was yesterday yourself, Mayor, sent some letters to the Halton or Burlington Condo Association, as well as the Apartment Association that covers apartment buildings, just to initially ask for their assistance on how to manage this particularly sticky piece of mandatory masking. And, you know, we're getting, that one seems to be a little bit more from my and 50-50 as far as people feeling as though we really shouldn't be sticking our nose into private residential space, and as many people saying, yes, please stick your nose into private residential space when it comes to the condos. So we're going to have to do a little more digging to figure that one out.
And we are hoping to get a report back from our Halton regional staff in August at our next meeting to see whether or not we would even have the legal ability. It is unclear, and they are looking into that a little further at council's request. And it is a touchy area. It's a private residence with a public area, right? And so it's that public piece that certainly I've heard a lot, including today another email asking about what we could do. So right now I've sent letters asking the apartment and condo associations to work with their members to voluntarily bring in their own policies, which they would have the ability to do right now.
Have your spending habits changed over the pandemic? A chartered investment manager talks next about value-based spending during the pandemic and beyond. We'll be right back with that story. Welcome back to Halton News. Jennifer Watson is a chartered investment manager with Watson Investments and portfolio manager with Aligned Capital Partners, Inc. She joins us today to discuss value-based spending during the pandemic and beyond.
We've heard that a lot of people through COVID-19 have expressed that it's been a time of self-reflection, a time to maybe reset and even potentially reprioritize. And I think that that's really important to really reset, really think about what's important to you. And then it can help put everything in perspective and can help reset where we spend our time, where we allocate our energy and effort. So the same is true with your money. Knowing what's important to you about money, knowing your values about money and what you hope to achieve now and in the future can help impact your financial decisions that you make today and will empower you to make better financial choices. So do you know what's important to you about financial decisions? And I would ask, are you making decisions in your everyday life that support your financial values? So some questions that we ask our clients in one of the first phases of building a financial plan include questions around the idea of, if you're not retired yet, what does retirement look like for you? So how are you going to spend your time? How are you going to spend your money? Do you want to travel a lot? Do you want to invite your family to travel with you? And do you want to pay for that? These are some of the conversations we would have and things that you can consider. What lifestyle do you want? What lifestyle do you want to maintain and preserve into the future? And what do you value? So when we ask that, I mean, what's important to you? What does money allow you to do? For some, maybe it's the freedom to retire when they want, or it's the freedom to start a business, or being able to fund children's education and provide their kids with opportunities. Maybe it's being able to help support another loved one or a family member. But helping yourself identify these questions and also continually reflecting on it, because our values and our opinions can slightly shift over time, perhaps, or as lifestyle circumstances can change. And think about these values, and now think about it in terms of the long term. And when you make your financial short-term decisions, consider those values and see if your day-to-day spending habits actually help or hinder your values and your financial future. I think that you can maybe think about it in terms of value-based spending. So is that what you're doing? If not, right now it's a really good time to have a reset, rethink things, and have that plan and that vision for the future that will really, really help you, both now and in the long term.
Another beautiful day out there. Here's a look at Oakville's waterfront as we head into our 5-day outlook. You can expect a mix of sun and clouds tomorrow with a high of 27, which will feel more like 32 with the humidex, and the UV index will be very high at 9. There is a chance of showers in the late afternoon and into the evening. Sunny skies Friday with a high of 27 degrees, down to 17 overnight, and that brings us to the weekend. Not a cloud in the sky Saturday, full sunshine at 30 degrees, and even hotter on Sunday, but that comes with a slight chance of showers through the day and into the evening. Cloudy skies expected Monday at 31 degrees. And now a look at how some of Halton's top companies performed on the markets today. We'll be right back with an update from the Burlington Food Bank after this. Thanks for staying with us here on Halton News. I'm Jessica Kading, and I'll turn it over now to Robin Bailey, the Executive Director of the Burlington Food Bank, for today's update.
This is Robin Bailey, the Executive Director of the Burlington Food Bank, and we wanted to thank a local partner that's kind of stepped up throughout COVID. Freshco on Brant Street have given us bags for us to be able to use for our clients, so we really appreciate that they do that. Every time we've called, they've come through for us. They don't charge us, they just donate them, and we really appreciate that donation. Also, we continue to get people coming in from Grow Row. Thank you so much to this latest donor who came by yesterday with pesticide-free produce. I think he gave us around 17 pounds, which is amazing. We really appreciate it, and we're able to share that out to a number of families who really appreciate it. Not only was it great produce, it also looked delicious, so thank you so much for that. And finally, we want to make sure that people realize that during these times, we've gone to curbside delivery for those who are sort of afraid about having to use a food bank and not comfortable with it. Make sure that you request curbside pickup if that makes you feel a little bit better. You're just going out to get your groceries. Nobody knows where they're coming from. We're here to help you out. We have all of our stuff gets checked out and made sure that it's in date and that we're giving you fresh produce. So again, info@burlingtonfoodbank.ca or give us a call 905-637-2273 and make sure to request that curbside pickup if that makes you feel a little bit better about getting the assistance from the great people here in Burlington.
Coming up tonight on Sports Week, Al Galloway's guest is Burlington Cougar General Manager and Head Coach Mark Juris. Here's a quick preview.
Once your NCAA days are over or whatever, is this something you could recommend? And if so, given that you played in Germany, do you have any particular preference as to which league or what countries to play in?
Well, you know what, it does, and I have a lot of contacts over there still, and I've helped some guys that I've coached, some guys that have gone on after NCAA or had a little bit of a taste of pro over here. I've helped them get over to Europe. Again, you know what? They're all great leagues. It's really changed even from when I played.
Joseph Brant Museum has officially reopened. The special exhibition, Giants, Dragons, and Unicorns, The World of Mythic Creatures, organized by the American Museum of Natural History, will be extended to January 3rd, 2021. Changes have been implemented to ensure the safety of visitors, staff, and volunteers. To learn more about what to expect and pre-book your visit, please visit museumsofburlington.ca. The Museums of Burlington is also offering a virtual summer program for kids. Virtual visits are daily 1-hour Zoom sessions featuring live instruction by a museum educator who will guide a series of creative, hands-on, structured activities and crafts that relate to a weekly theme. Programs are designed for children aged 8 through 12. Parental supervision is required for some activities. Programs are available in 1-week durations and take place from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. each day at the cost of only $25 per week. This includes a craft supply bag. For more, visit museumsofburlington.ca. I'd like to thank you for watching us here on Halton News. For more content, you can visit us on our website at yourtv.tv. We're also on social media at yourtvhalton, and we'd love to hear from you. If you have a story idea, don't hesitate to reach out at haltonnews@cogeco.com. For Halton News, I'm Jessica Kading. Thanks for watching.